Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Can everyone hear me, please? Please, if you can hear me, signify in the comment section. Okay. So since I joined about 5 minutes late, sorry for that. For those who have been here waiting for the past 5 minutes, I will be waiting for others to join. So let's just give them about 2-3 minutes. Let's see if, because we have about 7 people now. So I will just be sharing my screen in the meantime. So today, let us hope internet connection is on our side. So if you can see my screen, please let me know. So can everyone see my screen now? You can see my screen, please let me know. Can everyone see my screen, please? Okay. Okay. Awesome. So we will start the meeting by 3:10. So let's just hope more people join by then. It's a bit blur. Are you sure it's not from your end? Because it's just, because if it is blur, I think it should be from your end. But let me see what I can do. To be honest, I don't think I know what I want to do. Let's see. Okay, so I believe we can. Okay. Wow. Okay, yeah. So it's not from my end. If it is blurry, you can change your video quality, probably your network or something. Okay, so I believe we can all start now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's office hours. I hope you all had a great day or you are having a great day and also had a great weekend. I did. So this week we are covering or we are going into Django. So this week topic ranges from introduction to PEEP and virtual environments to Django itself. So introduction to Django, creating a simple Django project and creating a Django application. So as opposed to previous weeks, I do not think I will be explaining um more or teaching about Django more on the office hours, because I believe our videos have covered quite a lot. Um, the videos were very explanatory. They covered from PEEP to an introduction to Django, virtual environment. So what I will just be doing, like I mentioned in the channel, was to take questions. So I posted in the channel um some minutes before the class, like probably like an hour before the class, that I would be taking questions, and you should put your questions in the thread. So I'll probably just be going over the thread and see the questions that are there. So if you have not included your question, you can just do so now, or include it in the comment section and I will read it from there. So if you do not have your question there, you can just put it in the comment section now and I will go through it. So I hope that is understood. So if you have something that is unclear, something you would want me to explain regarding Django, because um I okay, okay, so once I might need to explain the video, which of the videos, I like to believe they were like 3 of them or 4. So which of the videos? You have to be specific in what you want me to explain. If it is Django or introduction to Django, or what don't you understand there? So let me go over the thread. Um, okay, so I can see some questions. Okay, so okay, I can see some questions. So I'll get right into it now. I just want to check if anyone asked a specific question in the channel, because that would obviously take precedence, because I posted it some time ago. Okay, so there were no questions, just so I noticed that a lot of people are supposed to wanting to ask questions on the channel come to my DM. And I think I've said this in like previous office hours. While I am not opposed to people coming to my DM to ask questions, it would be preferred if you can actually ask those questions in the channel, because not only will you get an answer or will you get a reply faster, you would also try to help others who might encounter same issues later on. So, because I get tons of DMs, and if I get a tag in the channel, I'll definitely go to the channel first before going to my DM to read the messages. So that is why I would advise everyone to, if possible, instead of coming to the DM, except it is something that has to do with the LMS or your profile or something personal that you think shouldn't be on the channel, then fine, please feel free to enter my DM. Okay, so I'll be going through the questions now. So someone said there was some command used in the videos that didn't work. I guess the tutor used Linux. Okay, so what command? Yeah, I think for the virtual environment, the tutor used Linux there. But um what command didn't work for you? What command did you try using that didn't work for you? So while you type that, I can go to the next question. So could you kindly talk about the text file that we need to have in the project? Okay. Okay, so yeah, I guess this is something I need to talk about actually, because I got like 100 of these questions. So a requirements.txt file is a file that comes that's by convention should be in every Python project, not just the Django project. Now, the requirements.txt file holds or houses all the dependencies that is in your virtual environment. So every Python project should have a virtual environment. Every Python, not just a Django or a Flask project, every Python project should be in a virtual environment. So you can think of a virtual environment as a container that isolates your packages from the rest of your machine. So it's isolates every of your dependencies. So a requirement.txt file is just a simple text file actually that is generated when you use a command. So what I expected people to do was at least Google how to generate it, because most times, yeah, while you can create a requirement.txt file manually, we can just go click new file, type in requirements.txt and click enter. Yeah, you can do that. But while you can do that, there is also a pip command to help generate your requirements.txt file. So the pip command would generate your txt file and pin all the dependencies in your environment into that requirement.txt file. So it is a file that can be generated from your virtual environment. So I would love to show you how that is generated, but I want to leave this as an assignment to everyone to go Google how to generate a requirement, because that's actually part of the task. So me doing it is like doing the task for you, like part of it. So I would love for everyone to Google how to generate a requirement.txt file from pip or using pip. Someone already mentioned or someone already cited the command in the channel, so you can go through one of the thread. I can't remember one of the thread exactly, but it was mentioned in the channel. So someone said, please, can you explain pip? Okay, that is actually a very good question. So yeah, I think I can explain pip. So to explain pip, I will share my screen. I would share my screen, so give me a second. Um, oh yeah, I'm sharing my screen. I would share my Visual Studio Code, my VS Code. Because it's open already. I'm not just sharing. So I will stop share and then I would share my VS Code. Or I think I should just share the full screen. I guess that would be better. Screen one. So I believe everyone can see my screen now. I believe everyone can. So PIP or PIP, as the name suggests, is a package installer for Python. So it's a package installer for Python, PIP, PIP. Now, PIP is actually what allows us to download and install our Python packages. So a package is how would I explain what a package is? Now, a package could be a library or a module that we need in our application for it to work. So we can think of Django itself as a package. Now, for us to download Django, we need a package installer. Now, if you're coming from the JavaScript world, you probably, or the Node.js world, you probably are familiar with something called NPM. That's Node Package Manager. So Node Package Manager is used to download node dependencies too. So same with PIP. It allows us to download our Python dependencies or packages. Now, PIP comes pre-installed with Python when we install Python. So most times we really don't need to do any extra work in installing PIP or making sure PIP is available to us. So if you want to check if you have PIP, so what I do is most times I really just type PIP, because if you don't have PIP installed, this would not work, obviously, to tell you that PIP is not recognized as an internal or external command. So if you know that you have Python, and okay, just to make sure, can everyone hear me? Okay, yeah. So if you know you have Python installed on your computer and you type in PIP in your terminal and you still get the PIP is not recognized as an internal or external command, what you need to do is you need to reinstall or modify your Python. So what I do is most times I just type in Python on my Windows control, is this control terminal, what do they call it? So you should see and come in, no, this is not, it's not what I'm looking for. Okay, it's not here. So most times you just go to your apps, and so I'm coming, give me a second. Okay. So go to apps, add and remove programs. So you come to you come here, then you search for Python. So you come to the Python application here, you click on modify. So I think I did this in like the first class. I think I did this in like the first class, but I'm just going to do it again. Then after we click on modify, we should see like a prompt. So I think I'm getting them. Okay, so you should see modify. Then you should see this pip checkbox here, because most times when you install Python afresh, this will be ticked for you. This will obviously be ticked. But in the off chance that you still get that pip error, you should come here and see if this is still ticked. So if this is unchecked, then you should check it, please. Now you click on next. Then for those of you still having the Python path issue, you should click on this add Python to environment variable. So it will add Python to path for you, and your Python will be accessible in your, like, globally in your computer. Then click on install. But I'm not going to do that because everything works for me fine. Yes, I want to cancel. So to check list of your Python, or your Python packages in your computer, you just do this deep freeze. So have like a ton of Python packages in my global. Now it is, you shouldn't download your Python packages globally. Most times they should always be in your virtual environment, but because most times I'm always very lazy to create a virtual environment, I just repeatedly want to test something on my terminal. So I just download my packages outside my virtual environment. So you can use this command to check the list of your Python packages and your Python dependencies. Yes. So this is pip at work. So just pip helps us to manage our Python packages and dependencies. So helps us install, uninstall, modify, update, and the rest of them. So I believe I've answered that question. So the next one is, oh wow, we have lots of questions today, as opposed to other days. So please, as regards the Django project, that part where you put /admin, it's not working on my end, and I don't know why. So I have created a super new user, and now I can't log in. Okay, so do you mean the like your server is running, but anytime you try to input the credentials, the username and the password, it doesn't log you in? Is that what you mean? Or the path itself, the /admin, does not even go at all for you? Because please, I think you should just answer that. I need that piece of information to help you. So someone said, can you please create an app for us to see where we are to stop while creating the app based on the assignment? So based on the task, yeah, I don't think I probably would still have to do a demo, creating a demo app and project, but to be later in the call after I've taken all questions. But as regards the assignment, stated, create the project and create the application, then make sure your project contains the requirements.txt file. To GitHub and I check your repo and I see your project with the name of the project and the name of the application, and I also see the requirements.txt file alongside. Now, your requirement.txt file should not be inside your application itself. It should be outside the application within the root folder of the project. So in creating later when I am creating like an application, a demo app, I would be showing you the root folder of the application. So of the project itself, rather, not the application. So your requirement.txt file should be outside any application, but within the root folder of your project. So please take note. How do we set PEEP virtual environments and Django? So I don't think I would, or I don't think I know how to answer that if you have not watched the video. So I would recommend or advise you to go watch the video resources for this week. Then I think you would be able to get an answer or a reply to your question, please. Do we have to create a new, okay, I think that's the continuation of that question. We have to create a new virtual environment for every new app we create with Django. No, so your virtual environment is for your whole project. So a project should only have one virtual environment. A project should only have one virtual environment. A project can have multiple applications. So an application is just like a small library in your project. So you can have as much application as you like in your projects. It really doesn't matter. I think there's a rule, not a rule, but I think I read somewhere that a standard Django project should have about 10 to, like a big, large Django project should have about 10 to 15 apps. So you can have as much application as you want. It really doesn't matter. But your project should have just one virtual environment. Your whole project should have just one environment. And you should stick to, if you are going to be creating a virtual environment, please, because people, now let's talk about, okay, I think let me just use this to make a little detail and talk about the two virtual environments that you probably noticed in the videos posted on the LMS. Yes, so we have virtual environments, we have pipenv, or like we have virtual env and pipenv. Now, those are not the only two virtual environments we have in Django. In Python, we have so many virtual environments. In fact, Python comes with its own lightweight virtual environment called venv, like venv. So you can use any of these virtual environments. Now, if you notice, if you have used both of them, or you have out of curiosity created both of them, you would notice that virtual env creates a folder, and pipenv does not create a folder. It creates a file, a pip file dot log, a pip file dot log. I think that's the name. So when creating your virtual environment, don't say because you have virtual env you can also have pipenv. Please just stick to one virtual environment in a project. Don't use multiple types of virtual environments in your projects. So someone said, okay, I think that's the question I just answered. Your slash will come. Oh, okay, I don't think that's a question for me. I followed every step on the tutorial and I still couldn't get my HTTP response. Yay. What could be the issue? Can you send the screenshot of that to me on Slack? Yeah. Or you can post it on the channel and tag me. I would reply. So, but if you followed every step, then you should probably be getting that. So you probably missed a step. and we would review it if you share that with me. So where do we stop when creating the app? Is it after we do run server and successful page comes up? Okay, so yeah, I think this is like a continuation to a question someone asked. So yes, for now, that is what you should do. Like that is where you should stop. Like the task isn't really asking much. Like I said, everything is explicitly stated in task, unless otherwise stated. So for this week, yes, that is where you should stop. So it is from next week that we will go into models and the rest, models and views and the rest. So you just for this week, just that's where you are stopping. Is how do we set requirements.txt from GitHub linked to VS Code? How do we set requirement.txt from GitHub linked? Do you mean how should you push your code from GitHub, from your computer, from VS Code itself to GitHub? Is that what you are trying to ask? Because I don't think you can link, I don't even understand what you mean by link requirement.txt from GitHub to VS Code. It's not something that you can link. So if that is what you mean by how can you push your projects to GitHub, then okay, I think I would do a demo of that. Like after, let me take all the questions. So after creating the new repo, will I use it as my project folder? Because virtual and refused to run on my repo folder. I will need help on folder file layout. Okay. So folder file layout. Yeah. Well, one of the videos that was posted to the elements, one of the video resources, because I did, like, I think it was introduction to Django. So I think I explained the different files that we have and the folder structure, how the project folder comes. Then when you create an app, it is within the project folder. So if you watch that and you still do not get it, then like I said, I would be explaining that later, but I believe I did. But I will be explaining that later after I've taken all the questions. So I did pip freeze while in virtual environments. The requirement.txt did not list VIRLM. Is that okay? Did not list what, please? Did not list what? I don't think I get this VIRLM. But when you do pip freeze in a new virtual environment, you would get nothing, because in a newly created virtual environment, you don't have any packages yet. You have not downloaded. It is when you download a package that you most probably would see it in your pip freeze command. So take notes, in the new virtual environment, there is really no package inside the virtual environment when it is newly created. It is when you start installing, downloading, and installing packages in your virtual environment that you would see the packages when you use the pip freeze or pip list command. Okay, so okay, the admin isn't working at all. It appears like when you don't have network on your PC. Oh, okay, so the reason why that is happening is because after you ran your create super command, you create super user command, and you created your super user, you did not run your server again. So when you run your server, the /admin route would work. This is this find log on the best listing sites. Let me just. Okay, so in the 45-minute video, the tutor didn't activate the virtual environment. My question is, once the virtual environment has been created in the command prompts, must it be activated once we switch to the Git section? Wait, let me read this again. In the 45-minute video, my question is, once the virtual environment has been created in the command prompt, must it? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so now pipenv and virtual env, they have two different ways of activation, creation and activation. Now, virtual env or VMV, after creating your virtual environment, you need to activate it. But with pipenv, you don't need to, it is activated automatically. So when you run your pipenv shell command, it will activate, it will create and activate your virtual environment for you. So if the virtual environment was pipenv, then there was no need to activate it again, because pipenv automatically just activates the virtual environment. You don't really need to do much. While virtual env, after creation, you need to activate the virtual environment. So take note of that. So the project inside the repo and virtual env is inside. The project is inside the repo, and virtual env and requirement.txt is inside the project folder. I don't. Okay, is that a continuation to a message? Okay, I think it's a continuation. So I will need help on folder file layout. Okay, I think I get. Inside. Okay, yes, yes. Okay, so the virtual env is inside the root directory of the project itself. I'm totally lost on what to do in the task. Okay, so the task is saying you should create a project. Now, it should create a Django project called I think song prod. I can't remember what task is again, but it says to create a Django project. Now, within that Django project, create a Django application. Now, your Django project must contain a requirement.txt file, meaning, now the reason for me stating that condition is that your requirement.txt file should be generated from your virtual environment. So it ensures that your Django project is within your virtual environment. Now, someone asked, okay, yeah. So someone asked me this question, or someone tagged me to a question. And the person said they don't know how to write the commands manually from like this to the requirement.txt file. And you really don't need to write it manually, because there's a pip command that automatically pin your dependencies or your packages to your requirement.txt file. So there is really no need for you to do that. So once you create your virtual environment, you should run a pip command to pin your dependencies into your requirement.txt file. So with what do you mean when we had Django successful? How do we push it to GitHub? Okay. Okay. So I'll come to this question. So how do we ascertain the app is working? How do we ascertain the app is working? Oh, yeah, nice question. So when you create an app, yeah, normally you would include the app URL in the project URLs or PY file. Yeah. So when you route to that particular URL, you would see the message that comes up. Most times you would get a page not found, but you would see that it is within the app as long as you installed it into the installed apps array, you added it into the installed apps array, you would not get a module not found, nor would you get any error. Then later on, when we move into, because for now we haven't really done much, we haven't moved into models. When we move into models, rather, you will see that once you create an application and it is not in the installed apps array, you cannot do anything. You cannot add a model, you cannot update the model, you can't really do anything, you can't make migrations on or migrate to the database. So but I would show you now when I start a demo. The code we are supposed to share for GitHub, is it the one for the code on the repository or at the main page? I don't think I understand this question. Is it the one for the code on the repository or at the main page? What do you mean at the main page? What is the command to generate the requirement.txt file with the dependencies from the virtual environment? So I will leave you to Google that yourself. I would leave you to Google that yourself. That is part of the task. So I wouldn't do that. Yeah. So by Googling that, you probably will learn a lot about virtual environments and PEEP itself. So I believe that is all for the questions now in the comment section. So I think I will just create a simple application, a demo app or a demo project. So I believe everyone can see my screen because that is where I'll be working from. I'm just going to stop sharing for now because I want to make sure of something. So just give me a second. Okay. Um, okay. So I will probably just reshare my screen. I'm sharing just my VS Code. So I believe everyone can see my screen. Yeah, I would increase the size of my screen when I start typing. Um, so I believe everyone can see my screen. Can everyone see my screen? So, what am I? Okay, I want to create a project. So the first thing I'll do is I'll see it into desktop, obviously, because that is where I keep most dummy files and projects. So let's just create a folder called should be Django. Oh, so there's already a project called folder called Django. Wait, give me a second to confirm. Um, sorry, just give me a second to confirm. The thing about me is once I don't have like a clear thing to build, I am stuck naming things like I don't know what to name things. If I don't have something clear to build in my head, stuck at naming things. Okay, so I have a project actually there. I think I've used okay. Okay. Okay, so I'll just delete it. Oh, okay. So let's create another. So this command is just to create a folder in your computer. So it's really not a Django or a Python command, just a simple. So I'll call this Django 2. Then I will cd into Django 2. Now, the first thing I want to do is create a virtual environment. Well, because I want to see the virtual environment in play here, I would be opening the folder. So open folder. So I think this is it. Then select folder. And Firefly. Okay, nice suggestion. So I think that's what we'll name our Django project. Firefly. Don't blame me, blame Mr. Francis. Okay, so okay. So I just want to create a virtual environment. Now I mentioned that we have virtual env and pip env. I would love to demonstrate both, but I think I would stick with just virtual env for now. So there is also a lightweight virtual environment called VNV for Python. So things to use that I think I'm gonna use Python MVENV. Then yeah. So this would work, but the reason why it's not working because we didn't add a name. So I didn't give it a name. So I'm not going to use VENV. I'm just going to use virtual env just to stick with the tutorials. So please is my screen still, is it clear? Is it vivid enough? Can everyone see before I start typing or creating anything? Hello. So So to create a virtual environment with virtual env, just okay. First thing you need to install it. So pip install virtual env. But I'm not going to do this because I already have virtual env installed. So if you do not have virtual env installed, this is what you would do. If you're on Linux, you can use the pip3 command, pip3 and install virtual env. Then once it is installed, use virtual env, then the name of the environment. So let's call it most virtual environments you see they're always named env. I don't know why, like a convention. So this would create our virtual environment. So as you can see here, we have the virtual environment created for us already. So this is here. Okay. So it still hasn't finished creating anyways. So once it finishes, this would come up in a new line, and I'll be able to type. Let's just wait for that to finish. So while we wait, I don't know why it's taking time. It's upgrading RAM on the system. Okay, so it has finished creating. And now we have our virtual environment. So let me clear, and now we have our virtual environment created, but it's not yet activated. So to activate the virtual environment, so you type in the name of the virtual environment, then this, I think this is forward slash, or is it backward slash? I don't know. Then check the name of this script here. So this is what you would use because there's an activate file inside it that you would need. So // scripts / activate. So this would activate our virtual environment for us. So you'll see here on the left side, it shows that we have our virtual environment activated. Now, if you're on Linux, it's a different command. It's really not a different command, but your virtual environment would probably come in it's different. Like you have library, then you have bin instead of scripts. So on Linux, the way of activating it will be something like source, then the slash will be different. So this is forward slash, yeah. So then slash scripts and bin rather. On Linux, not on Windows. So take notes. Now that our virtual environment is activated, what we need to do is we need to project. So I would just, okay, no, before we create our Django project, we need to install Django because we don't have Django installed in our virtual environment. So when you type the pip freeze command, we should see nothing inside. So this would most likely bring nothing. So I don't want to wait. So what I'll do is I'll open another terminal, and I would do this. I'll create my virtual environment. I'll activate my virtual environment again. Then /script. So now, okay. If you notice, pfreeze did not give us anything because there's nothing here. So pip install Django. So you would see this fancy whatever. So let's wait for everything to install. So alongside Django, we have other packages that are installed with Django. So it is impossible for your requirement.txt file to have just Django. Now take note. So in case you don't have your full mark while shouldn't requirement.txt file include all the Python packages installed in my your requirements.txt file should have everything installed in your project and in your virtual environment, not your project. I don't even know. Like you can you the reason why you should have packages for your virtual environment because you want to use them for your project. So it is impossible because most of these packages that are installed alongside Django, they are used by Django, they are needed. So it's not that they are just installed there for installing purposes or for installation purposes. So your requirement.txt file should have everything inside your virtual environment. So it's impossible to have just Django, probably because Django 4.1.2. So you should not have just Django in your requirement, because now if you check pipfreeze, you would see that we don't have just Django inside our virtual environment. So let's use here for the command pipfreeze. You see that we don't have just Django there. We have asgref. Okay, wait. Oh, freeze. Sorry, not free. You see that we have asgref, yes, SQL past, Z data, and the rest. So they are all used by Django. So it is impossible. So your basic requirement.txt file should contain these four, at least the minimum. It should have at least 4 packages inside. Not exactly this one, depends on the version you downloaded or the version at the time of your installation. So maybe yesterday they had 3.5.1 and today while downloading it I have 3.5.2. It depends on the version you installed. That's not really a big deal. So we have Django installed. we have Django installed, and we want to create our Django project. So to create your Django project, use Django admin. Okay, Fireflies. So Django admin start project Fireflies will create our projects. Fireflies, I'm coming. So as you can see, we have Fireflies and we have our virtual environment. So I would go back to the question I said regarding the requirement.txt and how it should be placed. So our requirement.txt should be in this root folder. So our requirement.txt should be in the same folder where you have the virtual environment itself. So if you have pipenv, if you're using pipenv, it should be in the same folder with your pip file. If you're using virtual env, it should be in the same folder with your virtual environment folder itself. So it should be something like this. Let's call it rq.txt. Shouldn't be called rq.txt, but so it should be in like this folder. Yeah, so that is it. Let's just do this. So let's create a simple. Okay, no, let me run server first. Python manage. Okay, now that I created the project, yeah, the name of the project is Fireflies. We can't run our server, or we can't start up our server now because we have our projects inside the Firefly. So for us to run server, it must be within the manage.py. So we must be in that directory where there's manage.py. So we must be in this manage.py directory. So Django is just this folder here, and there is no manage.py. So for you to see manage.py, you have to go into the Fireflies directory. So to do that, I'm coming. This control panel is just a mail. So let me just put it up above. So cd Fireflies, and now we can run our server. So while the server is running, because the server would run, I want to create a Django application. So Python manage.py starts up. So manage.py is okay. So to run our Django command, we use Python with like the manage.py. That's why we need to always create, like we need to always run our server where there is like the same directory with manage.py. So manage.py is a utility command that helps us run our Django commands. So it's a utility command. When you see what it contains, so it's just a utility command to help us download our and to help us run our Django command. Okay, so we stopped our terminal. So let's keep that running. So I believe everyone knows like how the initial page looks when you just run your server for the first time. So Python manage. Okay, so we are still not seeing it. So Fireflies. Okay, so now let's run our Python manage. So that is why this has to be within the project itself. Manage the PY. Okay, Zuri fly. Okay, fine. I would. Your wish is my command. Start up Zuri fly. So we should see Zuri fly. So now we have Zuri fly. So I believe everyone can see my screen. Yeah. So what I do most times when I just create an application is the first thing I do is I create a URL API file. But this is not among like the file that would come with your application. So you need to create it manually. Now I come to the settings.py file, to the installed apps, come here and tree live. And that is done. So I believe that is all. Did I mention I would do something else again? Okay. So let's just see the server. But before that, it feels like I mentioned that we do something and I've forgotten. Okay. So the URL is the py. Yeah, I remember now. So I said you need to include to know if your app is actually working. You will need to add a part to that because an app is just like a a small library in your project. So you can separate your application logic into apps. You can separate your project logic into apps. Now, when we move further, you would see how we can do that. Because, for example, all our authentication logic should be in like an account app, something like that, or an authentication or something like that. Then we can have all our API logic inside the API app. We can have, so we can just separate our logic like that into applications. So most times an application always has a path. Applications, they always have like their own route that begins with the name of the application. So we have Zuri Fly. Yeah. So let's just have, okay. Before we do that, we need a a library called include. This is the library, or a function, a method called include. So this will allow us add our URLs to the project's URLs of py file. So I think I should just put this disclaimer out there because I'll be seeing a lot of URLs stuff, py file or URL or something like that. So disclaimer, I don't know how to pronounce R. So you can laugh me all you want. I don't know how to pronounce R. So if I stutter anytime I'm pronouncing URL or I don't pronounce it very well, please just pardon me. So I've put this disclaimer out there. So parts, let's call this Siri fly, then include Siri fly for URLs. Now you don't use the .py, just the name of the file, which is URLs. I have entered it today. So here okay. So someone mentioned that they can't see. I think I should just do that too. So I should just have my own, like, the yay or welcome to our app, something like that. So for that, we'll need a function called index. So this is a view. This is called the view. I've not gotten there. But if you have watched the video tutorial, I explained MVC and MVT and MTV or MTV. So I talked about the model view templates architecture, and you probably understand what the view does. So if you have not, I advise you to go watch that, because I will not be talking about that in the office as I already explained it. And I even think there is another introduction to Django I did. It's not part of the resources because there were like lots of bloopers, and not even bloopers, there was lots of like network issues, because it was also a live session I had some time ago. So it was introduction to Django too, and I explained further about MTV, MVT, even client and server, how the client server process works. So you should probably just check that on the Zuri YouTube channel. Just type introduction to Django. You should see the one of like 1 hour. And I think that is it. So requests, we are not returning any page. So let's return a HTTP response. For that, we have to from django.http import HTTP response. So HTTP response, welcome to Surify. So yeah, I think this works. So we come to our, so I'll be explaining this later, like in other office hours, what is actually happening. So for now, just watch what I write. That is if you're not familiar with this already. So so what I just do most times is, because I hate having to, so I just copy these guys and I paste it here. I'm very lazy, sorry. So I really don't like writing everything from scratch. So parts, fields or index. So what we'll do is we do from dot views, or from dot import views, or you can use it from dot views. Let's be the views import index, because index is the name of. So I'm not looking at the chat now. I will look at the chat for any questions, like when I finish this. So let's just do this, okay? Index. So this should work basically, unless I missed something, but this should work. So let's rerun our server, because we are already getting an error. When we modify our urls.py file, we have to restart our server, especially if you have an error there at the point. So this should work. So I'll probably just go into the web page and show you. Okay. So let me look at the question. So someone's okay. There's no question. Okay. So I believe everyone is following, or I believe everyone can hear me. because in chat activity, the comment section is dry. Okay, so I will be sharing. Okay, I forgot I was sharing just my VS Code. So share screen. So I believe everyone can see my screen now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to this route. So now, if you notice, we have two paths or two URL in our project, admin and Surefly. So when we navigate to Surefly, we would see we have welcome to Surefly. So what happens? Okay, so this shows that our application is working. So what happens is when we navigate to this part, when we navigate to Surefly here, when we navigate to Surefly here, it takes us to this urls.py file in Surefly, and it checks for the corresponding parts. So since we have nothing here after the Surefly, this would run because we have like an empty route. So this is equivalent to, so the /Surefly, okay, let me just put it here so you would understand. So the /Surefly here corresponds to the parts Surefly, okay, 127.0.0.1 but 8,000 /Surefly/. So if we name this home page or home slash, then it will correspond to this on our web page /home/. So let's see if that works. So let's come to this place. So when I reload, we'll probably get a no page found or like not found, yeah, page not found. So home/, then we get this. So I believe that is understood. So later I would see how to render template and stuff. So I think I've covered the basics of apps and projects. Although I said at the start of this office, as I said, I wouldn't be going in depth into teaching because most of it has already been explained in the video resources, but I still ended up teaching. So the last thing I want to cover, which I believe wasn't a part of the video tutorial, is pushing our code to GitHub. And I reckon that is where a lot of people would get stuck. So I think I should just do that now. So those who would be watching this office hours later on would benefit from it. Even if they don't understand any other thing, at least they probably should be able to benefit from the pushing to GitHub parts. So what I'm going to do is I am going to navigate to my GitHub repo. My GitHub repo is a bit messy. So go to new repository. So let's call this Fire. I doubt this name does not exist. It's available. Okay, no. Firefly. Oh wow, it's available. Wow. So a simple Django Django project. So I'll probably be deleting this. How about fluffy happiness? I'm tempted, but we have chosen Firefly already. So to stick with like the convention, well, I think I should change this to fluffy happiness just to make the point. But I think later on I will explain what my thought process is right now. So let's just a simple Django project. Add the README. Yes. Add the .git ignore. No. Now I would explain what a .git ignore is. So let's just create this. Now take note, please. Same thing with the Google Docs, where you are supposed to make your link public. Please make your repo public too. Your repo should not be private, because if it is private, nobody else will be able to view it. So create repository. So I have this repo here. Let me check if there is any question. I used Git bash to do my task and I pushed it to GitHub. Do I still need to do anything on Visual Studio Code again? I used Git bash to do my task and I pushed it. Do I still need to do anything on Visual? I don't think I understand. Like, you used Git bash. Did you not use a text editor? Or are you saying that you use Git bash to push without using the terminal on Visual Studio Code? If that is what you're saying, then it's fine, as long as you're doing it on your project directory or your folder directory. There are two addresses. I don't think that is. Is this a question, please? Is this a question? I don't know. So should we render anything, or no? You don't render, because there's really no point in rendering. I wouldn't, if I'm reviewing your GitHub profile, I wouldn't see the page, but I would know if there's an error, because so based on the assignment, oh no, based on the assignments, why are you not adding a .git ignore? I will get there. I will show you why I'm not adding a .git ignore. Okay, so I think that is that. Let's continue. So we have this. We have this. So what I want to do is, now, if you created your repository before you actually started working on your project, what you need to do is just copy this, then go to your terminal and do git clone this, yeah, and click on enter. Then you will have this project the way it is on GitHub, like this, with just the readme.md. But I am doing this because there were some people that started working on their project before creating the repo on GitHub. So this caters for their needs more as opposed to those who created repository first, because it is actually harder for some to know how to push GitHub when they created the project first, because Git is not initialized in that project. But when you create your repo first and you clone it, Git is initialized in that folder already. So there is a hidden file called .git. You will not see it on your VS Code, but it is there. So if you check for like all the files and like using some tools, or even using your computer, you should see a .git file. But now you would not see it. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to show some weird Git commands and explain what they do. So I believe everyone is following, or everyone can see my screen. So what I'm just going to do is so I need to open this folder, this place, then I have to close all of this because we are not writing any code again. We are done writing. So close all. Then we are going to be working with our terminal. Okay. So now we have this. Now take note, I am not adding a requirement.txt file, but if you are to do yours, you should have a requirement.txt file. I'm purposely not adding a requirement.txt file alongside this. So what I want to do is I want to link my GitHub, the repo I created, to this project already. So the first thing I need to do is I need to make this whole, so I need to go out of this guy. So I am in this Django 2 folder, not the Firefly folder. I mean, you can make it be in the Firefly, but because I have them there, I am going to the root folder. So this is the root folder of the whole project itself. This is the root folder of the project. So I want to initialize this into a Git repo, or into a Git yeah. I want to initialize this into a Git repo. So what I need to do is git init. I first type in this. So it has initialized. So you see this initialize empty Git repository in blah 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 .git. Now, what I need to do next is I need to link the repo, this repo here. I need to link it to my project. So I do git. Now that I have initialized this, I can run git commands. So the whole purpose of initializing this into a Git repository is because I want to be able to run git commands on this folder. So while now that I have done git init, I can use git commands on like this folder. So there is a command called git remote v. Git remote v would show you the remote repository that your project is connected to. So it will show you the repository itself on GitHub that your project is connected to. So now that I use this command, we don't see anything. It returns an empty repository. And because that is because we have not linked it. So there is this command that git remote add origin. Then I come here, I copy out this link and I paste it here, then .git. So what this would do is this would set, or this will add this guy as my remote repository. So it will link my repository to my project. So I click on enter and I don't see any error message. So let's run this git remote v command. And now that we have run this command, we see that it is showing us this project. github.com/blah blah blah /firefly.git. So now I can push and pull as much as I want. So before you can push and pull, you need to commit your project. So let's type git status to show us all the projects or all the files that we are yet to add. So it shows us that we have fireflies. So before we continue, I want to now, so in answer to that question, why did I not include .git ignore? That is because I wanted to include it manually, because most people, you probably might skip the part. Maybe you mistakenly forgot how to, or you forgot to add the git ignore while creating the repository. You can always do that with your VS Code. So that's what I wanted to show. So .git ignore. So what does git ignore does is, does git ignore it's allows you specify files that you do not want to push to GitHub. Now, there are files that should not be on GitHub. So some people messaged me some time ago about an error or a warning that GitHub sent to their mail saying they have secret keys. They have their Django secret keys. That is because the Django secret key for a production level application should not be on GitHub. Your secret key should be secret. That is why it's a secret key. It should be secret. So most of those files, let's say you have some passwords and some configuration that like credentials that should not be on GitHub. Those files, because there we have like a .env file. So by convention, most projects, not even if Django projects, we have a file called .env file. So the very idea of this file is to store your environment variables. Now, after storing your environment variables, you are not going to be pushing the .env file to GitHub, because that should be just on your local computer, not on GitHub. So what most people do is they have .env and they have like something else called .env.example. So this .env.example is what they push to GitHub. And that is because they just want people, probably collaborators or anybody that wants to work on the projects, to know what and what is required for the Django project to work. So if I have like secret key, secrets_key equals blah, the name of my Django secret key, let's just say something like this, something like this. Because most times those Django secret key are always like this in this format. So let's say I have this as my secret key. So in my .env.example file, I would have this. Just this. And the next one, Google, something like this. So just like that. So that is what they do. So we don't push your configuration files, your virtual environment to GitHub. So you don't push your virtual environment. There are some files you do not push to GitHub. So the more we go into it, the more I mentioned and you get to know. So you don't push your virtual environment to like the folder. You don't push the folder to GitHub. You don't push your environment variable like your .env file. You don't push like these files to GitHub. So the way you can make sure that they don't get pushed to GitHub is by specifying them in a .gitignore file. So I want to make sure that like my venv folder does not get pushed to GitHub. So what I just do is venv, venv, then save. Now, if you noticed, okay, let me do it again. And save. Now, if you notice, when I type venv, yeah, please take note of this guy here. If I take it out, it's like the color changes. Then if I include it, it changes to like a gray color. So that shows that this is like it has been omitted from your source tree. So it will not get pushed to GitHub. Let me see if there's any message. the task, the admin creation is not needed. We are not doing anything related to models, so you don't need to create the admin. Everything is explicitly stated in the task. So now .env, just .env. So if you notice, this also gets blurred out or like changes color. So it shows that they are now omitted. But I think that is all for the .git ignore. So before I push or anything, so standard practice, it is good to avoid merge conflicts because there's something called merge conflicts. When you go later in depth into Git, you would understand more, especially when we're working with a team and you've kind of made a mistake in your code and there's an error somewhere or there's an issue somewhere, you tend to have merge conflicts, and merge conflict is actually very frustrating. So to avoid merge conflicts, yeah, there's a rule. I wouldn't say it's a rule, but it's a saying that always pull before you push. So we are just going to pull because now we just linked our repo to our project. So we need to pull first because we need to have this readme.md and everything. Let's say we initialize this with the .git ignore and the license and the rest of them. So we need to have them in our code before we push finally. So git pull origin. Now origin is the name of is like the name that is the remote name. Yeah, is the remote name for the repo itself. So you can see origin. So it's the name we give it. So by convention, most times they often call it origin. It's like a convention name, like a conventional name. So it's like the name origin. Then so origin is the name of like the repo itself. So it's like a placeholder. So git pull origin. Okay, let's just, most times you have to specify, it depends. Let's say you have multiple branches. So you specify the name of the branch. So our branch is master. But you can just use git pull origin, but let's just do git pull origin master because we have master. Let's just be explicit. So yes, now it is successful. We have our readme.md file. A simple Django project, blah blah. So now let's just do git add dot. No, that's not it. Git add, not add. So git add would we'll group all the folders and add them to like, I don't know how to explain what git add does, but what it does is it allows us to like, it readies our application to be pushed to GitHub. So this is the dot here is saying that we want to push all the folders and all the files except the ones we specified in our .git ignore. So the .git ignore will also be pushed to GitHub. So git commit. So git commit would commit all our files. It will ready all our files to be like, git commit is actually what ensures that all our files can now be pushed to GitHub. So you cannot commit your files without using this git add command here. So git commit. Now, there is actually a tool, or there are tools that you can use for VS Code. There should be like a GitHub extension. I think this is it. Yes. But personally, I don't like using tools like this here. So you can see pull, push, close, commit, blah, blah, blah. You can Google, you can watch YouTube videos on how to use them. I don't think I know how to use them, but I've always loved using like the terminal to manually do it, because then you would understand how they work and what is actually happening. There is also GitHub Web. No, is it GitHub Web or GitHub Desktop? Can't even remember the name again. So all these tools can help you if you can't remember all these commands. Well, I think when I learned how to use Git, I just mastered most of these commands and I know what happened. So it is easier for me to debug my Git errors and understand what is happening in Git and GitHub. So Git commits ready to be pushed to. So this specifies like the changes that you make. So let's say you're working on an application and you maybe added a feature or something. So you can specify what feature you added. So this is like a description of why you are pushing or what you are pushing to GitHub at that point in time. Projects ready to be pushed. So I believe everyone is following. I am trying to explain this as best as I can. So it has created our, oh, okay. Okay, I think this is actually a good way to use this command. So now, we don't push most times we don't push our database because I failed to mention, but when we have a lightweight database, I think it is in the resource, one of the videos, Introduction to Django, where I explained this. So Django comes with a lightweight database, an SQL database called SQLite 3. So most times you really don't push our database to GitHub like the SQLite 3. You can. It's not like it's you can if it's like a demo app you're working on, not a production level application. But if it's a production level application, you should not even use db.sqlite 3 to start with if it's a production level application. But if it is like a demo application, it's fine. It's just something free, or probably will be changing your database. As long as it does not contain any important credential. But if we want to remove it, it's simple. You can just include it in your .git ignore. So I'm going to undo all these commits I made. Let's see if I can add. So git so there's a command to do this. So it's git think reset head. Okay. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah. So git status. Yes. So this is it. Okay. So we've undone all the commits that we made. So I just want to add it. So fireflies slash slash where's db dot sqlite 3. Okay, yeah. So now if you notice, we get this blurred out, which shows that we are no more pushing this. So now we can do everything we did. It's add, it's commit. Then let's say we try to commit again, you see something like nothing to commit because we've already made our commits. And now we can push to GitHub. It's push origin master. So let's see what happens. So it shows us that it has been pushed successfully. So let's see if Git or our VS Code is lying to us. So this is the repo, yeah. I refresh and it seems everything is done. So, yep, I think that is it. So, is there any question? I think we are done with this. I think we are done. So that is just how to push to GitHub. Can you make changes? Yeah, you can. It's as long as you can still make changes to it. You can always make changes to it. But you have to install, if you're using virtual env, yeah, you have to install .env. So .env is a package that allows us handle environment variables and stuff like that. So you can Google it. I think this is it, speed.env. Yeah, python.env. Yeah. But if you're using pipenv, working with environment variables comes with the virtual environment itself. So it automatically loads our .env file. But if you're using virtual env or venv, you need to install this package, then read up on it and see how you can use your secret keys. Yeah. So, is there any other question? It's okay, no. So I believe there is no question. I believe today's class was very explanatory. I believe I covered quite a lot, from introduction, from PEEP to virtual environments to Django, creating a Django project, creating a Django application, and then pushing your Django project to GitHub. So based on this class alone, you should be able to do this week's task if you had no idea prior to this class. I believe we've covered almost everything besides the requirements of TXT, how to generate it, obviously. I think I talked about it earlier on. So, yeah, so if there's no question, we can call it. For people using PyCharm, I think that's virtual environment. For if you're using any code editor or any extension, no, is this the extension? I think any compiler rather, or anything, you can use any virtual environment. It is not tied to a code editor you use. It is tied to your project itself. And take note, okay, so I failed to mention this. Now the reason why we most times have a requirements.txt file is so that, now let's say I have a requirement.txt file here. Let's say I have a requirement.txt. Okay, so let me just do that. Let me add it here. So I won't call it requirement.txt. I'll just call it rq.txt. Let's have this. Now let's say let me push to GitHub. So now that I have pushed to GitHub, it should be here now. So now the reason, let's say we have a requirement.txt file. Now the reason why we most times for every Python project we work on, we have to push the requirement.txt file is because anybody that wants to work on your project will have something to use to be able to work on your project. So let's say someone comes here and clones this project. Now, they don't know exactly, let's say in the Django project, we used a lot of packages. They don't know exactly what packages we used. They can't start reading from file to file to start checking which packages we used and which packages we did not use. So the requirement.txt file helps us or helps the person understand or know the packages they need to install. And it's not like they are even installing them manually. So the same way there's a way to generate our requirements.txt file, there is also a way to install the dependencies that are pinned in your requirement.txt file. So there's a way to install them in your virtual environment. There's a command you will use to. So let's say I want to install, let's say I have some dependencies that I want to install them. So what I would do is come and pip install r, okay, so we call this req.txt. This would install all the dependencies we have in our requirement.txt file. So the same way we now can you see, so to update blah blah. So if there is like so let me get the Django version and let me add it manually. Let me show you before the class ends. So we have about 4 minutes. So I will not be picking any questions again. So let's say I run this command. Now, can you see it tried installing Django again? So you can see requirement already set because we already have Django in our virtual environments. So when we pin all our dependencies to a requirements.txt file, anybody that clones our project, anybody that wants to work on our projects or that wants to see what we have in our projects will have the requirement.txt file and will be able to download all the dependencies that are pinned in our requirement.txt file. So our requirement.txt file helps in collaboration with others. So you can download our virtual environments can get a hold of all the packages or all the dependencies that are pinned in our requirement.txt file. So I hope I have explained that. So the same way there's a command to install to generate your requirement.txt file. There's also the same command to install all the projects or all the dependencies that are pinned in our requirement.txt file. So it was actually fun. The class was fun, and we have come to the end of the class. So I hope to see everyone here again tomorrow by 4 to 6 here. So I believe we didn't have much network issues there. So the class was very loud, clear, and vivid. Thank you all for joining and have a blissful evening ahead. Bye.